Welcome to Unit 12. This is the end of our 12-week session. You've made it. You've arrived. Take a deep breath. Yeah, this is good. What a journey. I've been honored to be on this, accompanying you as you're looking through communication and what it means to have conversations that are in the midst of conflict and being able to handle it with skill and with communicative skills and knowledge. Just way to go. I've loved getting to hear the conversations in our discussion boards, seeing your C&Qs, and all the different pieces as you've been on this journey and learning. So thanks for being part of this class. And we are going to wind things down today. With a little bit of a conversation about the material, but also some important housekeeping things. So first, you're going to notice that everything is due here at the end of the semester, August 1st. And this is important to note because it's not Sunday, right? So we've been doing Sunday the whole way through at 11:59 p.m. That's not the case here. It's Friday, August 1st at 11:59 p.m. That's when everything is due for the course. So that includes your final exam, your final paper, and everything from Unit 12. Right? So your final exam and your final paper, we've been talking about this throughout the semester, but that final paper is due. It's a reflection piece on those five kind of concepts and bringing it into conversation with a contemporary case study. You can go back to the syllabus if you have more questions about that, or to the video I recorded. I think it was in Unit 9 that talked some more about the paper itself. And reach out if you have questions about that. Then your comprehensive final exam covers material from throughout the course up until this point. And it'll be really similar to the midterm exam, just slightly different weights for the questions. And you'll see that as you go in there. And then, again, all of this is due Friday, August 1st. So that's the really important deadline. And that's a hard deadline because I'm going to be grading all of it after that point. And the course is over. The semester, actually, the whole summer semester is over on August 1st. So thank you again for being a part of this. Loved getting to know you and see your work and accompany you on this journey. Oh goodness. All right, so we're going to keep this kind of short and sweet because of time constraints, and I know that this unit is a little bit shorter than usual. We have till Friday, so we're not going to do a long video today. I'd like you to have time to finish your final papers. So let's talk just a little bit about some of the big important concepts in this week's readings from Conflict Between Persons, chapters 11 through 14. So we were talking about the idea of impersonal responsibility, and this is from Emmanuel Levinas. And there's some other conversations about impersonal responsibility in the text. But this one's really important. Emmanuel Levinas was a Jewish thinker from France, I believe it was, in World War II. And he got caught up in World War II. He actually spent most of the war, I believe, in a Nazi concentration camp. Not a concentration camp, excuse me. I think it was a prisoner of war camp because he was in the French military during the early part of the war, and he was captured and put in a prisoner of war camp rather than a concentration camp, which was in some ways it was part of why he survived, was because he was in this prisoner of war camp rather than a concentration camp. And I believe his family was also actually rescued. There was a friend of his who helped get them to safety. But for Levinas, and you can see some of his work textured by that context. For Levinas, the big question for him is responsibility. And what does it mean to be one's brother's keeper? What does it mean to have responsibility that extends beyond just personal liking and into responsibility for the impersonal face of the other? It's not just that I like them as a person, they're my friend, or whatever it is. It's that they're a human, and because of that, I have a responsibility for care. I have an impersonal kind of responsibility. Emmanuel Levinas is a really important figure and comes back over and over again when it comes to questions of responsibility, when it comes to dialogue and dialogic civility and all of the principles we've been talking about in this class. Levinas is important because he reminds us that responsibility in conversation and in communication kind of just is there waiting for us. Whether we like someone or not, there's a certain amount of impersonal responsibility, even if maybe we're in a work context and we don't like a coworker. That doesn't mean we have to pretend to like them or suddenly be all buddy, or friends or that kind of thing. But it does mean that there are certain kinds of responsibilities we have to treat the other with respect, to continue to create a place where ideas can be exchanged respectfully, those kinds of ideas. Right. There's also another part of our readings today talked about destructive conflict, and I thought this was important to touch on as well and to draw your attention to at the end of this course, where we've been looking at conflict very constructively. We've been looking at it as something that can be engaged with and leaned into, and kind of dealt with. But there are some kinds of conflict that do damage relationships and don't really have anything positive about them. And it's helpful to note them here. There are things like divisive conflict includes things like gossip, bullying, harassment. These kinds of things are things that don't really have any place in public civility. They're not conflict that is constructive, right? And they're things that really, according to the authors, we should work towards resisting, right? So resisting those problematic kinds of conflict through professional civility, and then critical theory. And I know that this term can be a little bit of a buzzword in culture right now, and especially politically around critical race theory and some other things like that. And this is a little bit different than something like critical race theory. So, critical theory is part of a larger family of lots of different disciplines have understandings of critical theory. And in communication, critical theory is really looking at communicative structures and the things in them that are unjust or that are wrong or that are hurting people, especially the voiceless, the people who wouldn't be able to speak up about that. And what critical theory does, it's not tied to any particular political party or anything like that. It's in this context, in communication, it's pointing out these places that are problematic, these places where people's voices are being lost, or where there's failures of communication or organizational failures, and it's causing us to stop and pay attention to those things and saying, "Hey, something's not right here." It especially critiques large structures that that people can get lost in. Things that for me, the first example that comes to mind with something like that is the healthcare system in the U.S. and how real people get lost in these cogs, and its communication is involved in that too, right? With people not understanding the kind of expense that's associated with some procedures and with some parts of medical care, with the way that collections and hospitals treat people after they've received care. There's all kinds of, you can go down the whole line of what it means to receive medical care in the US and see a bunch of places where you can start to point to systems that are unjust, to places where communication fails, right? And you can start to say, hey, let's take this apart and look at it. Surely there's a better way of doing this, right? So professional civility, which we've talked about a lot, and critical theory, both hand in hand, can give us a framework for helping to nurture and advocate for a public sphere where everyone has a voice that can be heard, and where decisions can be made, recognizing that people come from different ethical grounds, from different communication ethics. All right. Hey, thank you again for being a part of this class, for being at Duquesne, for studying here, and for allowing me to be on this journey with you. I've really enjoyed getting to know you, and please reach out if you have any questions or any concerns as we enter the final stretch here with your final paper, with your final exam, and with the final material from Unit 12. Okay, thanks so much and take care.